Hello, my name is Maureen, and this is my final project for the PHH 611 Logic and Epistemology course with Dr. Yates at the Holy Apostles College and Seminary. In this brief, entitled An Investigation into the Pragmatist and the Metaphysical Realist Views on Truth, we'll compare the philosophies by exploring the theories presented by two principal philosophers which held differing perspectives about truth and reality. The objective of this brief is to demonstrate the key differences between pragmatism and realism, particularly to help inform which philosophy objectively obtains the truth. This is not a discussion on the degree of certainty of a potential object of truth or an inquiry into if truth is obtainable, but a comparison of different philosophies on the topic. The objective of this brief is to demonstrate the key differences between pragmatism and realism, particularly to help inform which philosophy drives to objectively obtain the truth. This is not a discussion on the degree of a certainty of a potential object of truth, or an inquiry into if truth is obtainable, but a comparison of different philosophies on the topic. The objective of this brief is to demonstrate the key differences between pragmatism and realism, particularly to help inform which philosophy drives to objectively obtain the truth. This is not a discussion on the degree of certainty of a potential object of truth, or an inquiry on if truth is obtainable, but a comparison of different philosophies on the topic. First, it is important that we baseline key terms and philosophies discussed in this brief, to include understanding the basic concept of truth. We'll go over the definition of truth, what truth is. Ironically, we will initially not cover what truth is not, which would be in line with how Aristotle viewed truth, since our deeper dive into pragmatism will help to demonstrate what truth is not in reality. Secondly, we'll address why the truth is important. Third, we'll dive deeper into the core principles of Dewey and Aristotle's theories on the truth, and use that understanding as criteria for pinpointing what the differences between pragmatism and realism are. Lastly, we'll apply the concepts about logic, including that it is with logic that the truth can be verified, in order to evaluate the two named philosophies of pragmatism and realism to identify which one yields truth. What is truth? According to the online Merriam-Webster dictionary, truth has 4 definitions. It can be interpreted as a thing, as a noun in actuality, as a state of being, the facts, or as a body of facts, in the spiritual sense, as relating to God, or as in relation with the facts. However, from a philosophical perspective, abstractly, the noun truth has various uses. It can be used to refer to the general relational property referred to as being true. Though it is rarely the perspective that philosophers focus on, as philosophers are generally focused on the validity of premises used in arguments about understanding life, through the study of our intelligence or existentialism. If the premises are not valid, then the argument is invalid. Philosophers are focused on the truth as a collection of facts. In this brief, we'll address 2 opposing philosophies, which interpret what the fact is very differently. Why is the truth important? Knowing the truth is necessary for living a fulfilled life and for making better decisions. The truth helps to shape your judgment. All the more reason why what you interpret as truth in your own premises must be valid. Holding truthful foundations and core beliefs also helps to steer morality or decisions that impact your personal ethics. Truth is also at the foundation of virtues, including justice and love. With respect to justice, and as quoted from the Bible, the truth will set you free. Further, those dedicated in the pursuit of truth are considered good detectives, or good doctors. Regarding love, to obtain a true and divine love, you must truly know your partner, for the good and for the bad, and still be willing to give them your gift of self. Metaphysically, the truth is worth knowing because it fulfills and perfects our minds, which are part of our very essence, our internal self. According to the current-day author on philosophy, Peter Kreeft, truth is to our minds what good food is to our bodies. Kreeft outlined that an argument that has nothing but true propositions and what is logically valid is the only kind of argument that is worth anything. The only kind that convinces us that its conclusion is true, and the only kind that we can use to convince others that its conclusions are true. If an argument has nothing but clear terms, true premises, and valid logic, its conclusion must be true. More importantly, Kreeft also argued that there are two main roads to truth. Truth is found only in the second act of the mind, in judging. But two paths to truth are in the first act of the mind, and in the third act of the mind. Thinkers of truth. John Dewey and Pragmatism. The principles of the pragmatic theory of truth suggest that a proposition is true if it is useful to believe. First, each account begins from a pragmatic analysis of the meaning of the truth predicate. Second, to be asserted as true, it must stand up to scrutiny. And third, there is a strong rejection of the correspondence theories of truth amongst the pragmatists. They find that reliance on abstracts introduces uncertainty and probability. Now let's review John Dewey's two main influences, philosophers Charles Sanders Peirce and William James. Peirce was recognized for first proposing a pragmatic theory of truth, which comes down to the idea that what is truth is what describes a belief as true. Peirce theorized that truth beliefs eventually gain general acceptance by withstanding future inquiry. James was credited for popularizing the pragmatic theory of truth and argued that truth represents a kind of satisfaction. True beliefs are satisfying beliefs in some sense. James suggested that true ideas are like tools. They make us more efficient by helping us to do what needs to be done. Unlike Peirce, James suggested that true beliefs can be, but must explain how they stand up to an ongoing inquiry and investigation. James argued that truth happens to an idea. It becomes true. It is made true by events. Then there is John Dewey. He subsequently reframed and rephrased truth in the terms of warranted assertability, or the nature of knowledge. Like Peirce, Dewey emphasized the connection between truth and rigorous scientific inquiry. Like James, Dewey viewed that truth as a verified result of past inquiry, rather than as the anticipated result of inquiry, proceedings into an unknown time or future. Like Peirce and James, Dewey did not think favorably about correspondence theory of truth because of its reliance on abstracts, which he viewed as an unverifiable relationship between a proposition and how things really are. Dewey's point was that it makes little difference pragmatically whether we describe a goal of an inquiry as acquiring more knowledge, acquiring more truth, or making an assertable judgment. For pragmatists, the utility is the essential mark of truth, beliefs that lead to the best payoff and are the best judgment of our actions, and that promote success, are truths. By comparison, Aristotle argued that we want to know the world and want to know about the world, and found that there were three reasons for pursuing truth and three corresponding kinds of sciences. He called the three productive sciences, practical sciences, and theoretical sciences. And to each of those sciences are pursued truth for a different end. Most of all, regarding the theoretical sciences, that we want to know simply to know, to expand our consciousness, and this requires truth. The correspondence theory is often traced back to Aristotle's well-known definition of truth, as it is found in his works Metaphysics and Categories. Aristotle is quoted on truth, where he wrote, "To say of what is that it is not, and of what is not that it is false." while to say of what that it is and of what is not that it is true. In categories, Aristotle noted that the underlying things that make statements true and implies that these things are logically structured situations or facts, or what is. Aristotle found it necessary to distinguish and characterize a thing with an affirmative and a negative predicate of what is and what is not. With this logic, Aristotle's definition of truth is preceded by a definition of falsehood. Further, logic helps us to see more clearly what is true and what is false. And you need experience to get your premises. Logic can then draw from your conclusions. All the while, abstracts are so important to the reality of truth. The differences between pragmatism and correspondence theories of truth come down to two primary issues: acceptance of abstracts, and the debate about whether asserting that we can define truth versus accepting truth in nature. Interestingly, accepting truth in nature as our premises introduces objectivity, while taking the initiative to assert a truth through broad acceptance is a mere subjectivity. Aristotle's correspondence theory is probably the more direct route to truth, particularly because if we didn't accept our ability to abstract and develop universal truths, then we would also be rejecting our ability to reason. Also, metaphysical realists don't argue the existence of universal truths, as they are further proven through our common sense.